After a group of friends use a cursed tarot deck, they face the dark side of fate. As the members are killed one by one, the remaining people are compelled to find a way to negate the curse, or they'll also meet their demise. For her birthday, Elise's friends rent a mansion in the middle of nowhere to celebrate such a special occasion. In the middle of their game, Grant walks out when the group votes him and his ex-girlfriend, Haley, as people who'll get married first. He reasons he'll get some more beer, and Paxton volunteers to help him. While they're away, Haley confides in her female friends about the recent end of her relationship with Grant, citing his lack of ambition as the reason. She longs for romance, a desire that Grant dismisses. Based on his perspective, he believes he's too ambitious for her. Paxton, ever the supportive friend, suggests they take the pottery class or start a book club. Grant resumes searching for beer as he isn't interested in his offer. However, he discovers that only one can of beer is left, for they've consumed most of it. Haley suggests she'll have some at the store, but Paige volunteers to have them delivered. Grant disapproves of their idea since they're situated in a secluded area. For Paxton, he proposes they search the whole mansion for liquor, believing they're locked up somewhere. During their search, Lucas notices a door with a keep out sign glued to it. Despite the warning, he breaks the door, and the group enters the dingy basement. They proceed to check out the bizarre collection decorating the room. Elise opens a chest and grabs a vintage cloth from it. Upon showcasing it to her friends, Haley recognizes it as a divination cloth. With its presence, Haley concludes that the items in the basement are all old astrological objects. Paxton discovers a small chest with an occult symbol carved on it. Inside it, he notices that it contains a deck of cards, so he suggests they play poker with it. When he scrutinizes it, he withdraws his invitation since it turns out the cards are for tarot. Elise urges Haley to perform a tarot reading for everyone, and the group approves of it. Haley refuses, but Elise persistently convinces her to do it, especially since it's her birthday. Later in the living room, Haley lights the candles and proceeds to open the chest when a gust of wind blows in. Alongside it, the floorboards creak briefly, alarming the group. Haley forbids continuing the reading, emphasizing that it's an unspoken rule not to use somebody else's deck. Elise dismisses her warning and volunteers to have her horoscope read. At the time of her reading, Haley pulls the High Priestess card and explains that Elise is climbing the ladder towards success. Though her initial reading's positive, she cautions her that the card is in reverse, so Haley advises her to slow down as the card can cause her to slip up and suffer a crushing blow. Next, Madeline takes her turn, and Haley pulls a reversed The Hanged Man card. She foresees that Madeline might experience technical difficulties because Mercury is in retrograde. However, she tells her not to panic as it'll soon be water under the bridge. Haley adds that Madeline shouldn't run away from her problems. After her, Haley invites Paxton to read his horoscope, but he declines and heads to the bathroom instead. Therefore, Paige assumes her turn, and Haley draws a reversed The Magician card. She alerts her that the magician's bag of tricks is deceptive, which will hinder her from seeing things clearly. Once Paxton returns, his friends coerce him into getting his fortune read, and he gives in. Haley draws a reversed The Fool card and advises him to avoid acting impulsively. Also, she cautions him about feeling trapped or boxed in. Lucas takes his turn, and Haley pulls a reversed The Hermit card. It implies poor judgment, so she warns him to watch out where he's heading. Since he's a person who goes all out for love, she advises him to be focused because the Hermit's light can lead him on the wrong track. Lastly, Grant begrudgingly sits in front of Haley. He expresses his skepticism about the tarot reading's reliability. Though offended, Haley calmly enlightens him by saying that she uses the deck to read the stars. She proceeds to read his horoscope, and she draws the Devil card. Overall, Haley points out that he needs to be understanding in the relationships or else it'll lead to the destruction of it. Grant perceives that she is alluding to their failed relationship, so he urges Haley to read her own horoscope. In compliance, Haley receives the Death card, leading Elise to inquire what it means. Defeatedly, she informs her friends that love will be the death of her. The following night, the group returns home safely, but their inescapable death is apparent. Inside Elise's dorm room, she's having a phone call with Paige when she hears a loud thud on her door. Immediately, she ends their call to investigate the strange noise. Elise notices the attic's ladder is lowered, followed by giggling coming from the attic. Thinking it's her dorm mates, she climbs the ladder to the attic, but they're missing. Suddenly, she senses a movement in the attic, alarming her. Downstairs, the lights begin to flicker, further scaring her. When she returns her attention to the attic, an array of lit candles shaped as her star sign, Libra, surrounds her. Then, the High Priestess card appears in front of her. After checking the card, the High Priestess incarnate screams at her, causing Elise to fall down the attic. She tries to escape, but the evil entity ends her life by bludgeoning her with a ladder. The next day, Elise's friends are alerted of her death, but the authorities believe she died in an accident. Paige mourns her passing, especially since she's the last person she was communicating with. By the evening, Haley volunteers to stay with Paige to help her get enough sleep. Later, Paige awakens from a nightmare in which Elise is involved. She blames herself for being unable to save her friend. Haley makes her realize that it's out of control and sympathizes with her since she's been in the same situation before. Back then, Haley's mother was on the brink of death, which pushed her to pursue tarot. Admittedly, she tried countless readings in order to make sense of her situation. However, she couldn't stop her mother's impending death. With this in mind, Haley encourages Paige to stop blaming herself since she can't change fate. Meanwhile, Lucas accompanies Madeline as she heads home. Before she enters her apartment, she tightly hugs him. A few moments later, Lucas arrives at the subway, but he encounters bizarre events. The lights are flickering and there's a silhouette of a person across from him. The silhouette turns into darkness that slowly envelops the station. Out of fear, Lucas enters a restricted train yard. He tries to call for another presence, but no one answers. Instead, he notices a newspaper that informs him that he'll die today. At that moment, the hermit appears behind him, frightening the man. Lucas enters an abandoned train to hide from the entity. Unfortunately, it threatens him using its petrifying appearance. Now that he's driven near the train's door, the hermit appears beside him. Surprised, he tries to leave, only for him to get hit by a speeding train. By the morning, police officers interrogate Lucas's friends, asking how he broke into a restricted zone. Madeline shares that Lucas planned to take the subway home after walking her into her apartment. She expresses her regret for not inviting him to stay with her. In Paxton's opinion, he finds Lucas' death strange, but the officer insists there are no signs of foul play. Since the authorities can't help them, the group tries to decipher what really transpired. Madeline suggests everything was a coincidence because Lucas and Elise's demise happened on 2 consecutive days. At first, Haley's skeptical, but she realizes fate plays a huge role in the incident. To explain it, Haley connects Lucas's death to his horoscope reading, but Grant refuses to believe her. Not backing down, Haley mentions Elise's tragic fate, which also mirrors her reading. Grant abruptly intervenes and wonders if Haley is insinuating that the readings are coming true. Haley confirms, but Grant remains disbelieving of her claims. Despite Grant's opinion, Madeline gives Haley the benefit of the doubt and reminds the group that they might be the next target. Haley grabs Paxton's laptop and proceeds to browse for a possible solution. She discovers a woman named Alma Astrom who publishes articles about horoscopes. After clicking an article about the dark side of fate, Haley believes they should contact her. In support of her, Paige informs the group that Alma is a practicing astrologer with clear communication in the entity world. Hence, she's a suitable candidate to help them. That night, the group visits Alma's residence, but the woman tries to drive them away. Out of desperation, Haley tells Alma about their impending doom due to their readings coming true. She begs the woman to help them, and Alma eventually welcomes them in. Inside Alma's abode, the woman demands to see the deck they used, but Haley admits she used someone else's. Alma orders her to describe it, and Haley remembers that it's hand-painted. Recognition strikes Alma, so she asks if the deck is concealed in a box marked with a zodiac wheel. Because of her words, Haley pleads with her to enlighten them about the mysterious events transpiring around them. Alma recounts that in the years 1951, 1961, and 1988, people who read their horoscopes using the same deck all mysteriously died. Curious, Haley wonders how she knows all of the events, and Alma reveals she's the sole survivor of the 1988 horoscope incident. She shares that she tried to track down the deck, but it was already sold at an auction 15 years ago. Hence, her plan to destroy it has failed. Alma proceeds to share the deck's history. According to her, it belonged to the astrologer who lived in 18th century Hungary. Back then, she foresaw that the Count's wife and unborn son wouldn't survive childbirth. The Count despised her prediction, so he ordered her to change it. Though she tried, their fate was already sealed. Once the Countess and their unborn child perished, the Count accused the astrologist of witchcraft, leading to her daughter's death. As an act of vengeance, she performed a dark ritual and took her own life. Through this, her soul was bound to the cards, birthing a death curse. Not long after, the Count and his associates gruesomely died. Due to the curse, the zodiacs are inverted by default, so whoever uses the deck will have to face the dark side of fate. Haley inquires how they'll stop the curse, and Alma advises them to destroy the deck. On their way to the mansion, the group faces trouble as Madeline's horoscope reading manifests. Their car stops in the middle of the bridge, and a recording of Madeline's reading plays. She realizes that she is the next target, frightening her. As if the entity is summoned, a hangman game is scribbled on the windshield, urging Madeline to run. Terrified, she quickly sprints out of the car, and a concerned Haley follows her. The pair are almost at the end of the bridge, but a ghoulish creature, the Hanged Man, captures Madeline using a rope. She tries to scream for help, but the entity hoists her into the ceiling. While Haley mourns for Madeline, Grant and the rest of the group approach her. They check on her, but Madeline's lifeless body appears. Their terror is heightened after the hanged man reveals its face. Immediately, the group races to the end of the bridge. Once they're away from the entity, Paxton suggests they return to the campus to isolate themselves. However, Paige and Haley refuse, especially since the cards appear to have come to life. Grant advises that they must return to the mansion and destroy the deck. Paxton decides to part from the group as he doesn't want to be dragged into the horoscope disaster. Moments later, Paxton gets inside their campus elevator and hears unusual yet festive music blasting on the speakers. Upon reaching the 5th floor, he sees a jester laughing mischievously at him. Paxton realizes it's the personification of the Fool, causing him to contact Grant for help. Unfortunately, their line gets disconnected and the elevator doors repeatedly reopen. Outside, he encounters the Fool, who distorts its appearance to terrify him. It slowly approaches him, but the door closes. Suddenly, the doors reopen, but the Fool is nowhere to be found. Now trapped in the elevator, the lights inside the machine turn red, and the entity barges through the ceiling. Meanwhile, Haley, Paige, and Grant return to the mansion and head straight to the basement. They retrieve the box, and Paige suggests they destroy the deck through incineration upon reading it from a website. Without hesitation, Haley throws the deck alongside its box into the fireplace, but the group discovers that the fire is ineffective. For this reason, they plan to contact Alma for help. Shortly after, Alma arrives, and Haley reports about Madeline's fate with the hanged man. Alma explains that the astrologer embodies the card like a shapeshifter, bringing the final outcome card to life. Following this, Alma arranges a ritual to summon the astrologer in hopes of severing her connection with the cards. During the summoning ritual, Alma abruptly stops, for the astrologer appears. She urges the trio to hurry, but the astrologer proceeds to control her body. Haley tries to help her, but Alma forbids her. At that moment, the astrologer takes out the cards and begins to read Alma's horoscope. She receives the 6 of Swords card, sealing her tragic fate. When her life is slowly draining, Alma apologizes, and an unseen force pulls her into the dark. Afraid for their lives, the group flees from the scene. In the hallway, they come across Alma's lifeless body with 6 swords pierced on her back. Because of this, the group disperses, and Paige accidentally gets separated from them. She enters a room where Haley's calls for help lures her to the basement. Down the room, Paige follows Haley's voice, but her friend is missing. All of a sudden, the light bulb explodes in front of her. This causes her to have distorted eyesight, and she endures it just to find a way out. Instead, she enters a stage and bumps into the magician. She tries to escape, but the entity has bound her feet. Despite her helplessness, the magician's audience finds her suffering entertaining. Paige proceeds to crawl to the backstage, and she discovers a chest. Running out of options, Paige gets inside the chest to hide from the entity. Luck isn't on her side as the magician pushes the chest to the stage. On stage, the entity proceeds to perform its tricks by turning the lever to compress Paige in the chest. Afterward, the magician unremorsefully saws Paige in half. Haley hears Paige's ear-piercing scream, making her realize that her friend has fallen prey to her fate. Later, the former couple converses about their failed relationship, and Haley reveals that the stars don't favor their relationship. Grant opines that maybe they're cursed from the start, leading Haley to think of a way to deal with the astrologer. She suggests reading the astrologer's horoscope so she can receive her own curse. Of course, Grant detests her plan, for he's afraid it'll worsen their problems. Regardless, Haley wants to pursue it, garnering courage from her mother's determination to battle her sickness. Just as they're reaching an agreement, the demon forcefully grabs Grant away from Haley. After subduing Grant, the demon transforms into Death, and Haley faces her fate. Haley heads to the closet to hide, but the entity is able to track her. Again, she tries to flee, but wherever she goes, Death locates her with ease. The entity grabs her by her neck, but Grant strikes it on its head. Once freed, Grant checks if Haley has finished the reading, but she denies it. Unfortunately, Death recovers, so Grant urges Haley to perform the horoscope reading while he deals with the entity. Hurriedly, Haley prepares the deck while the astrologer, in the form of the demon, drags Grant's unconscious body into a portal of flames. Since the astrologer is preoccupied with Grant, Haley's able to pull a card for her. As a result, the astrologer returns to her original appearance and approaches Haley. Even with her threatening presence, Haley urges her to let go of her past, but the astrologer ignores her and proceeds to grab her neck. Upon looking down at her horoscope, the astrologer discovers that Haley has pulled the death card for her. Due to this, the zodiac wheel activates and begins to consume her. Now, the curse is lifted as the tarot cards burn alongside her. That night, Grant and Harry reconcile, and the couple decides to take a walk home. They come across a car which turns out to be driven by Paxton. Happily, Paxton hugs his friends, relieved that they're still alive. On their way home, Paxton shares that he survived his encounter with the astrologer since his roommate Todd opened the elevator.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.